All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about some motivation. We're going to talk about some meditation. We're going to talk about some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. We're going to get into the ability to utilize that focus, that knowledge, that discipline. Start getting down into that mentality and that ability inside of ourselves. Start overcoming our challenges, putting ourselves in a place where we start to believe in who we are, believe in our very essence, our being. And today I was asked the question, what's the difference between being motivated and being inspirational? And the difference is being able to apply the knowledge and focus and to recognize the process that you're going through and utilizing that process. And you see, when we start utilizing our mentality, we start utilizing the gifts that we have, we start utilizing the challenges that we face off against and the things that we're going through, then we have the ability to overcome them. Then we have the ability to put ourselves in a mindset where what we're going through, we have the ability to overcome. And it's really when we're starting to do that, it's when we're starting to grow that we start asking those types of questions. And the question that was asked was, what's the difference between motivation and inspiration? And so the difference is that when you focus, when you're truly focused, okay, people, they're going to start to see you as a motivation. Okay, they're going to start to see you for the abilities that you have inside, the ability to overcome your own challenges. And when you're doing that, okay, when you're starting to do that, when you're starting to become focused, it's when the challenges start to pile up. It's when the negativity starts to show up and say, hey, can you do this? Can you truly start to become positive? Can you put yourself in a place where you can start to identify with you, where you can identify with your skills, where you can start to identify with your talents? And you see, just because you have talents doesn't mean that you're utilizing them, okay? When you start utilizing your gifts, when you start utilizing your ability inside of who you are, that's what starts to set you aside. It starts to put you in a place where you start to recognize that you can overcome things. And that's what it is this is a group of people that are committed to overcoming challenges. Okay, they're committed to believing in themselves and believing in their ability within themselves, that if they're willing to focus, if you're willing to hear this message and start to believe in yourself, if you're willing to start to put yourself in front of your challenges and to start to face off against them one by one, you'll find that you can overcome them. And it's amazing that we have challenges, because when we start to embrace our challenges, okay, when we start to say to ourselves inside that we're worth it, when we start speaking with a level of vibration, when we start putting ourselves in a place where other people, they start to become motivated by us, all right? And it's amazing when you start doing so, when you truly start to become that kind of motivation. And it's on a daily that we start asking these types of questions. The person who's willing to hear this message, the person who's willing to recognize the challenges that they have, they can overcome, the ability inside of who they are, within your vibration, and so this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about who we want to become and how we want to overcome our challenges. You see, it's when we're going through things, as when we're going through things that we want to start to gain the skills. Okay, so if we can always be working to gain the skills, if we can always be working to overcome the challenges, if we can put ourselves in a point where we have that purpose, where we have that place, where we start to have that kind of ability, and it's amazing what you can do with that kind of mentality. You know what I'm saying? And it's it's amazing when you're facing off against something and you see it as a place of growth, when you start to see it as an ability inside of yourself, when you start to see it as a mentality. And so I just want you to see that when you put yourself into challenges, the ones that you're going through that nobody else can overcome for you, the ones that, if anybody else did it for you, it wouldn't be fair. You know what I'm saying? The ones that, when you're going through these kind of challenges, other people start to seek out, they start searching out other things. Those ones, the ones that we face off against inside of ourselves, right? And so when we are facing off against those kinds of challenges, okay, when we are going through those kind of things, all right, what is it that you use? What is it, the skills that you use when you're facing off against the most difficult situations, the most difficult parts of your being? And so when we start to do so with that kind of mentality, when we start to do so with that kind of ability, it starts to have a purpose. It starts to have a place. It starts to have an ability to be overcome. And it's amazing when you truly start to see it for yourself. Yeah, when you start to see and you start to believe within you start to believe within your ability, you start to believe within your mentality, and you start to really get down with what's going on inside of you. And you see a lot of people, they face challenges, but how do you get your mind to a place where you overcome them, where you believe in you? And so this is what this group is about. It's about believing in yourself. It's about believing in your mentality. It's about finding a way to overcome your challenges from being who you are. How many people say that you can overcome your challenges by being yourself? See, that's what I'm talking about. Because a lot of people want to take the credit that's yours. They want to take the place that you are. I don't want that. I want to build a community of people that are there to uplift each other. I want to build a community of people that believe that focusing is worth it, that the ability inside of themselves, that the challenges, that the things that they go through are worth overcoming. And I want to build a community of people who believe in themselves more than anything, that are truly motivated, okay? That other people look at you and they see you as a motivation, that you end up getting the highest position in your fields, that you become the professional within your mentality, that your ability within you starts to shine. And you see, that takes skills, that takes abilities inside of you that you already have. See, a lot of people won't say that either. It already exists inside of you. So how do we unlock that? How do we unlock that ability that lays inside of you? Can we start to focus to that level? Can we start to get down to that person? Can we start to hear this message, to hear this vibration, to start to truly want it for ourselves? And you see what I'm saying? When you start kicking those kind of things, when you start kicking that kind of mentality, when you start kicking with that kind of ability, that leaves a magnitude behind. Each of you have a mass inside of you. You have it within your being, you have it within your vibration. But do you take advantage of it is the question I have for you. Do you start to use your skills? Do you use your talents? Is the person that you are inside, that person that you are inside, are you using those skills that you learned, from those years that you are alive, those lessons, those things, those times when you decided and learned that something was hot or cold? Have you taken those times, okay, those times, those places, those things that you've gone through, and have you studied them? Have you mastered them? Have you given yourself that kind of ability to make it through it? You know what I'm saying? And this is what we're talking about today. We're talking about how we can get that focused, and how we can start to use those kind of gifts. How can you start to use the talents that you have? How can you start to use the abilities inside of who you are? And so we find that the people who acknowledge what I'm talking about, the people who acknowledge that ability, right now my Facebook group has just hit 5,000, almost 100 members. Every day I'm increasing. My 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 podcast, YouTube, Facebook, subscribe to the networks. Let's get connected. There's ways that you can donate, or you can get connected with this group. The point is, it's not about me, my friends. It's about a cause greater. Okay, it's about an ability to start to uplift other people. All right? If your friends, your family are going through something, and the methods that I use help you to overcome the challenges, they help you to find that place inside of yourself, to start to have that kind of strength, then this was worth it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not just kicking this outwards for myself, okay? I'm looking at you and me. I'm looking at our abilities within who we are. I'm looking at our mentalities. I'm asking myself the same questions on a daily basis that I'm sharing with you. The difference is I'm continuously grinding on it. Are you? And so when you hear this message, when you start to see people start to believe in themselves and start to build a community, like today I was just starting my meditation session this morning, Are we clocking in on life, my friends? I just listened to a motivational speaker talking about how he was mastering time, how he was setting a specific set of time aside for doing his emailing, for doing his video chats for his company, for the ability to sit down and look at finances, to start to take each part of who we are on the inside and to start to use those kind of gifts. Yeah? And so, who teaches this? Who goes to this kind of school to get this kind of focus? You hearing what I'm saying? When you're going to your positions, are you taking notes? Okay? Are you mastering your procedures? Are you putting yourself in a place where you have the upper hand? Okay? Are you just thinking about taking care of one thing so that the next month you don't have that extra thing on your plate? Are you thinking about getting ahead and planning ways to focus to allow the things that are negative to move out of your life? You see what I'm saying? What I'm kicking works in every aspect of our lives. And so as we're rocking, as people start to see this kind of place, as they start to see this level of focus, this level of being, this level of vibration, don't be surprised, okay, when the results come out. You get what you work for. You know what I'm saying? If you put yourself in a place where you're vibrating positivity, don't be surprised if positivity starts to eventually become the results. And so what I'm talking about today is how to start to allow negativity to leave your life. How to truly get into that page that you're on. That page where you are yourself, where you have your ability, where when you're facing off against challenges, you start to overcome the challenges themselves. And so every day that I grind, every day that I put these videos out there, every single day that I get down with you guys, this is my thing. You hearing what I'm saying? Motivation, meditation, inspiration is what keeps me alive. It's what drives me. What drives you? And so as we are working through those type of things, as we're putting ourselves and giving ourselves that kind of permission to be who we are, to focus, to allow positivity, to allow the things to move out of the way, that's when the gifts inside of you start to show up. You hearing what I'm saying? You hearing what I'm kicking? I'm kicking the ability for you to start to put positivity first, okay? To put yourself in a place where you have that kind of growth, where you have that kind of being, where you have that kind of vibration. And, it's amazing when we're going through something and we start to overcome it. When you start to overcome your challenges, okay, what would that do for you if the boss started to come to you because you were focused? What would that start doing for you if your mentality started to open up and people started seeking you out at work? They started seeking you out in your homes. They started seeking you out in your relationships. When we are that focused, Other people become motivated by your reflection. That's dominating your mentality, okay? That's getting to the place where you're using your skills. It's getting to the place where you're using your being. And a lot of people don't want to have that kind of presence. You know, they don't want to truly be who they are on the inside until they get kicked to the curb. You know, when you start getting kicked down, when you start feeling that people aren't hearing you, they're not listening to you, you know, when you allow them to take the upper hand, when you allow them to tell you how you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to become. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, it's when you're overcoming those kind of things that focus becomes important. It's when you're overcoming those kind of challenges, when the ability inside of who you are starts to vibrate. It's when you're truly finding that person inside of who you are. And so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about you. We're talking about that kind of skills. We're talking about finding that kind of positivity, that kind of mentality, that kind of ability that you start to believe in yourselves. So, how do we find a way to turn things that are negative into positives? See, everything that we go through is a process. When you're going through the process, when you're putting yourself on a piece or on a puzzle or on, you know, it's interesting when we're building a puzzle, for instance. Each piece matters, you know? It's kind of like playing chess. In life, you have pawns. You have rooks, you have horses, you have knights, you have different ways that you focus, you have different gifts. You have a king. You know, which pieces do you play? How do you utilize this journey? How do you utilize your skills? Do you take L3 or L4? You know what I'm saying? Or do you take one step at a time? You know, do you go diagonal or do you go straight? You know what I'm saying? Where is your focus is what I'm trying to kick. What I'm trying to say is that when you're playing chess, they take pieces from you, but you can still win the game. You hearing what I'm saying? When you can still win the game, even when challenges are facing off against you, even when you might not have all the skills that other people have, but the skills that you have, you know, and you're using. And so that's what I'm talking about, focusing to that point. I'm talking about using the mentality inside of yourself that you start to enable yourself, that you bypass the things that other people taught you. I'm talking about focusing to that point where you believe that you're worth it. I'm starting to talk about that point where you start to believe that your abilities inside have the ability to overcome your challenges, that you can see that with what you have is sufficient, that with what you have you can overcome. And so this is what we're talking about today, is positivity. That's the kind of positivity that I talk about. That's the type of positivity that the people around me vibrate. And you see, they see it in their own lives. They see it in their own ability. They see it in their own mentality. They see it when the challenges come. They see it when the ability inside of them come. And you know, when you're doing that in your companionships, when you're doing that in your homes, when you're doing that in your abilities, and you're utilizing the true ability that you have inside, that is when the blessings in the universe start showing up. Do you want those kind of blessings? Do you want the yields that come from outside? You know, I see these people that, you know, achieve things after working massive amount of time on things. I see people that are achieving dreams, that are achieving goals. When we give ourselves the ability to utilize what we have, you know, it's not a certification. You're already certified to be yourself. And you are able to overcome your challenges when you find that ability inside of who you are. And so here we are focusing. Here we are getting down with these challenges, you know. And, you know, 5,000 people later, connected on this Facebook group, getting this thing going, building this thing, motivation, meditation, inspiration daily. Okay, daily I'm on this grind. What grind are you on? What is the thing that drives you closer towards yourself? What is the thing that helps you to open up and helps you to manifest the person that you are inside? You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here right now telling you it's worth it. I'm telling you, if you sit down and you focus, if you sit down and you pick one thing to do the best in the world, I'm telling you that if you focus on that one thing, if you focus into that ability, and if this God-given gift is given to you to do so, okay, that when the test comes and you start to overcome it, okay, when the tests start to come and you start to manifest, when the tests start to come and you start to overcome the challenges within yourselves, okay, that the gifts inside of you start showing up. But you got to give yourself that space. I mean, I could be the coach of you. I could tell you, do it, achieve it. But you know what I find out when people come to learn from me? That I don't have anything that I could teach them. The only thing I can teach you is how to be yourselves. I can only teach you how to find who you are on the inside. I can only teach you skills that you can use for you. Okay? I can't teach you anything. The person who really teaches is a teacher inside of you. All I can do is wake you up to that teacher. All I can do is help you to find that part inside of yourselves where you become that. And you see, if I'm doing that, if I'm becoming that as well, if you're seeing me as a reflection of motivation today, if you're seeing me as a reflection of that kind of thing within the universe, then all I am doing is being who I am. You hearing what I'm saying? Who talks that kind of truth? Who talks with that kind of reflection? Who talks with that kind of ability? You know what I mean? And this is what I'm talking about on a daily. And this is what I sit down at the lake and I remember. I sit down at the lake and I do meditation. Okay, I sit down and I do breath work. I sit in a place within where I recognize that even being in a simple place, we need to be aware. We need to be connected. We need to have a level of focus to the point where we start to utilize our gifts, where we start to utilize our talents. And a lot of people waste their talents. They stop themselves when they're going to places because they feel that they're not able to utilize the gifts that they have. But do you spend the time doing the homework? Do you pick up the books to get to the place? Do you pick up the preparation or the videos or the study guides? Do you pick up that stuff to achieve your dreams? And so how do you start? And so one of the ways that we start doing so is by writing down our own mentalities, starting to study ourselves, starting to put ourselves in a place where we have the ability to overcome it, where we have the ability to manifest it, where we have the ability to utilize our gifts, our talents, our abilities. And you see, when people start to see you doing that, okay, that's when they see your level of focus. It's when you're deciding to become that type of person. And a lot of people have seen that one person that's on top of that grind, that's unshakable, who ends up becoming that CEO of that company. And why do they get that space? Okay, why do they get that mentality? Why do they see at that level? And I see these people and I hear them saying, I don't know how to pull myself out. But have you sat down and freaking tried? Have you sat down with yourself at a point where you believe in you? You know what I mean? Have you taken a minute and said, let me go ahead and reevaluate the challenges that I'm going through? You know what I mean? And so, I don't know if you're going through something right now, but if you are going through something right now, and you're not using the skills and the talents that you learned with your life journey, If you're not using that, then start seeking out a way to be positive. Start seeking out a way to utilize your gifts. Start utilizing your mind. Because when you start doing so, you will pick yourself up. You will find a way. See, I went through a time like that. I went through a time when I cared more about other people than myself. I went through a time where others' opinions mattered than my own. You see, I passed through that time. I passed through that place. I already been through that challenge. I already learned those lessons. What I learned in the process is all I can share with you. I can teach you how to do breath work. I can teach you how to do all these things. But ultimately, the teacher inside of you is the one who either picks it up or not. See, that's knowledge beyond. See, when we're focusing to the point, you see, the most attractive trait on the face of the planet is focus. The reason why focus is the most attractive trait on the planet is because that type of person becomes positive. All right, that type of person focuses to the place where they overcome the challenge. That type of person picks up the extra mile. They pick up the extra ability inside of themselves. They say, if it takes a little bit longer, I'll do it. I'm focused to overcoming those kind of challenges. And so here we are today. Here we are in this place. Here we are in these kind of challenges where, it asks those type of questions if you really have what it takes. And it is up to you to want it to that level. You know what I mean? And, I kick this every day. And there I am sitting down at like below 50-degree weather. It's in the low 40s. It's quite nice, actually. When I'm sitting there and I'm doing meditation. And, last week I did a 37-degree meditation. And, that was, Fahrenheit. So this was almost near freezing. And it's interesting because when I start the meditation, you got the jackets on, you got the stuff like that, but everything has to come off because the heat inside is greater than the challenges going on around us. The heat inside gives you the ability to overcome those challenges, but do you focus to the point to heat up to that level where you're greater than your challenges? See, that's the question that a lot of people don't ask themselves. But when you are going through it, when you truly want it that bad, what makes you focus to that level? And how do we start to gain that kind of training? You know what I mean? This is what we're talking about today, okay? We're talking about what it takes, okay, to truly be yourself. You know what I mean? And, I really enjoy, I enjoy when people come to me to ask me to teach meditation. I enjoy when people come to me to ask, how can I build my mentality? I enjoy when people come asking the questions, is it possible? Is it the ability within ourselves? If we can do this, if we can achieve this, if we can overcome these kind of challenges. And you see, it all comes from your own self-growth, your own self-work, your own self-ability. I wouldn't be in the place I am today if I didn't focus with what I had, if I wasn't grateful for the things that I'm going through, the challenges that I'm facing off against, and each of us have challenges and they're totally worth it. If you haven't started bracing your challenges and you start to embrace your challenges, you'll start to find a certain type of liberation show up. Okay? You'll start to find a certain part inside of yourself start to show up. And if you start to show up and you start to become an attendant in your life, if you start to become an attendant in your mentality, if you start to become aware of your ability, then positivity will allow the things that aren't meant for you to move out of your way. But you got to stay positive. So, now to answer the second part of this question, what's the difference between motivation and inspiration? How focused are you? Okay? And let's go ahead and start talking about what it takes to get to a place where you become an inspiration. Okay? When you're using your focus, all right? Are you using that process to get that thing inside? To get that energy inside of you flowing? To get to that place inside of who you are? See, that's why the second part of the speech on a daily, the second part of the question that I ask on a daily basis is what I'm doing today. Is it motivation? Is it meditation? Because you see, when we are utilizing that student inside and that teacher inside, your focus becomes like a student. Your knowledge inside, your ability to overcome your pains, your fears, your emotions are already within you. See, that's what I'm saying. See, this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about how we get down with our grind. I'm talking about how we utilize the knowledge within, how we start to utilize the purpose inside of who we are. And it's when we're doing that, it's when we're starting to utilize that, it's when you're sitting down and you're focusing and your knowledge starts to show up. It's when people start to see it for themselves, when your light inside starts to open up, when your being starts to become lighter, when your ability inside of who you are starts to say, hey, let's do this. And so, I continue grinding on this. I continue pushing towards that knowledge. I continue pushing towards that ability, towards that self-growth that we're always doing on a daily basis. But I also share it with you. You know what I'm saying? I've created a community of people to start to believe in themselves, to start to believe in their abilities, to start to believe in their companions, to start to believe in themselves. And what matters the most is how you believe in you. When you start to believe that you're worth it, when you start to believe that the student can learn from the teacher within, that the student inside is worthy of the teacher that you are, that the student inside has the ability to overcome the challenges, has the ability to set the time aside for oneself, has the ability to overcome the things that we're going through. And so I'm focusing today. I'm focusing in this place. I'm focusing in this ability, in this mentality. And I truly enjoy sharing it. When I first started doing breath work, when I first started sitting down and utilizing what people call meditation, okay, because there's many different forms of meditation, my friends, all right? I just happen to do the form of meditation that is a reflection of what people understand as meditation. Because the connecting, the awareness, the ability to pick yourself up, the ability to be the student inside of the classroom with the teacher that you are, is already a form of meditation. See, in my eyes, the highest level of meditation is this place you are at, when it's in a place where the energy is being used properly. See, how about that kind of thing? How about that kind of a place where when you're singing, your art's being used, when you're writing, your ability's coming out, when you're speaking, your mentality is coming out? How about that kind of meditation? See what I'm saying? Or the skills that you use. And so this is what we're talking about. I'm talking about you and you. I'm talking about the meditation that makes you you. And each of us has one of them. We have a place that, and a gift, and the things that we enjoy. And, when we go through things and the knowledge opens up, you first find that first seed of knowledge. You first start to see that the energy and the ability to stand your ground, to speak your mind, to utilize your depth perception starts to open up. When you start to utilize all the skills, when you start to utilize all the talents, when you start to utilize the whole person that you are inside. And, I want you to believe that that becomes possible, because it can be. That's the amazing thing. It can be possible. You can pull yourself out of your situations. You can overcome your challenges. You can go through things that nobody else could go through for you. And it's when we're doing so that we start to believe in ourselves. It's when we're doing so that we start to overcome, and I'm sitting here right now in front of you guys. I'm sitting here right now in this place. I'm sitting here right now in this ability, and it's inside of who we are that we can become. You know, when you start to know you start to know yourself. You start to become friends with who you are on the inside, friends with your communication, with your ability. A lot of people will sit down and read a book. Okay. Now, if you ever sat down and read a book, when you're sitting down inside of the story, you start to feel like you're a companion with your mind in the story, that you're traveling along within the story, that you're traveling along within this place. And it's when you're doing that with you, when you're utilizing that kind of skills, okay? And a lot of people that run marathons, they'll say to you that I feel like I'm going along a run with my subconscious. You know what I'm saying? Are you becoming that kind of friend with yourself? Are you starting to see yourself as beautiful? Are you starting to see yourself as strong? Are you starting to have self-esteem, self-presence, self-purpose? Are you starting to believe in yourself? Are you starting to see that your knowledge and your ability within who you are becomes worth it? And this place where this knowledge meets this student and this teacher meet together, when the two of them meet in such a way in which the abilities within start to open up, it's amazing. Okay. And this place, a lot of people see this through there's a lot of people who play instruments, and that is their form of meditation, like the violin, for instance, or the piano. Mozart and the piano. You hearing what I'm saying? Is that a meditation? Ask yourself that. So what is it that you utilize your knowledge? What decompresses your pains, your fears, your emotions? What opens you up to overcoming your challenges at that level? And for me, that happens to be sitting down in lotus doing meditation. What we call modern day meditation, but has been always self-study, has always been working with the energies within, has been always utilizing the things that we have inside of who we are. And, are we able to utilize that part of ourselves? Are we able to utilize that part of our ability and that part of our mentality? You see, this is what we're talking about right now. Okay? All right? And it's when you overcome those parts, when the student and the teacher inside of you starts to work together, okay, when the knowledge starts to open up within, when you start to become a joy with the knowledge that you have inside of yourself, when you start to become self-growth, self-being, self-purpose, self-presence, that other people see a reflection of the second piece that I ask every single day. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? You ask yourself that question. Is it a reflection of meditation? See, that's what they see when you're getting down with yourself on that level. So, are you able to do it for you? Can you get inwards? Can you light up this world from who you are on the inside? Can you be greater on the inside than the heats that you're going off against on the outside? Utilizing that kind of knowledge, that kind of a place, that place where that center breath is your knowledge on the right and your focus on the left. You are always in that place. You have that choice You have that ability to utilize your focus, your knowledge, and to pick yourself up. And when you start doing so, when you start getting there where your focus and your knowledge becomes centered, when you truly start to gain access to that place, when you start to use those kind of skills, when you start to use those kind of mentality, when what you have going on within you becomes greater than what you have going on around you, that's when people start seeking you out. They start to ask, can you be a teacher? Can you be a guru? Can you use that knowledge, that focus to that place of discipline? Can you utilize that being that you are inside? Can you utilize that vibration? And you see, it becomes worth it when you start to do so. When you start to recognize your path, your journey, and you start to get that kind of discipline. What about that kind of place where the challenges that you've faced off against, you can overcome? When you start to gain that kind of training within yourself, when you start to gain that kind of training within your ability, you see what I'm saying? And so here I am in front of you today, telling you, if you use your focus and the student inside of who you are and the knowledge that you have, that you are sufficient, that you have what it takes, that you already have the gifts inside of you, that you already have the talents inside of you, that if you will yet but apply those things, if you will apply that knowledge, if you yet but apply that focus, if you will yet but be that person inside of who you are, then you will overcome your challenges. The universe will have a way to utilize you. It will have a way to uplift other people. It will have a way for other people to seek you out. It will have a way for other people to want to see you as a reflection of inspiration. It's when you're going on your grind. It's when you're facing off against things and you just don't quit. You know what I mean? And it's just amazing how many people will cut their abilities short before the time comes. It's amazing that challenges can be overcome. And I want you to see that when you're doing so, when you're starting to overcome your challenges, when you start to give yourself that kind of permission, when you start to give yourself that kind of place, when you start to give yourself that kind of ability, that you will start to overcome things that other people said were impossible for you. If you overcome things that others would say are impossible for you, then do you not think that somebody else would come along and say, if you can do it, I can too? If I could sleep in a van for 2 months, if I could meditate in a sauna, if I could deliver food, if I could continue to grind, if I could do videos on a daily when I was doing that, could you imagine the things that I could do as I get bigger, as my community grows, as motivation, meditation, inspiration grows? If I could bypass 5 hours of meditation inside of a sauna at 160 plus, if you could put yourself in that kind of a place where you believe in yourself with that depth, can you imagine the things that you could overcome with your focus, your knowledge, at the place where you are disciplined? Can you imagine how great those types of things will start to happen? Can you start to believe that you can do it? Can you start to believe that you can overcome it, that you can achieve it? And as you start to, the road will start to open up. The path will find the journey. The journey will find the ability. The ability within will overcome the challenges. And other people will also become uplifted. They'll start to believe in themselves. And then we start building a more beautiful world. And as we do so within ourselves, as we liberate ourselves, as we free other people in the process, as we become a more beautiful world, as we find a more beautiful journey, as we find a more beautiful path, then the ability within who we are. Now, how can we apply it, my friends? Can we uplift other people? Can we start to utilize our focus, our knowledge to the place where the universe considers us disciplined, where the people around you seek out you? They seek out your abilities. They seek out your mentalities. They seek out the person that you are inside. And so here we go today. Here we go in this place. Here we go in this grind. Here we go in this ability within ourselves to utilize our focus, our knowledge, to the place of discipline, where we center ourselves to overcome the darkness within ourselves. You hearing what I'm saying? Where the grind goes on, where the ability inside of who you are lights up. As other people light up, so do they become liberated. And as we liberate each other, we create a more beautiful world. Because as we free each other, people become beautiful within. And as they become beautiful within, we create a self-love. And as we create a self-love, we create a self-ability. And the more people that are enabled, the more people that are truly being themselves, the more people that are attracting those to them that are who they want to become, who they want to achieve, who they want to overcome. The gifts inside start showing up. The talents inside start showing up. The abilities within who we are, the light within, the liberation. You know, I can see this grind, I can see this ability, I can see these challenges, but do you see it for yourselves? Do you see it within who you are? Have you sat down and seen the reflection? Have you sat down and seen the ability? Have you taken the time, the ability within who you are to grind? To truly uplift other people means being yourself. To truly uplift other people means overcoming your challenges. To truly uplift other people means to lift them up even when you're going through things yourselves. And so are we able to do that? And you know, I see these people on the face of the planet. I see the ones that want it. I see the ones that want to achieve it. I see it within you. I see it within your lights. I see it within your journeys, within your paths, within your purposes. And it's not to take from somebody else, it's to give to this universe, it's to utilize this yield that we have within us, to utilize this blessings that we have around us, to utilize this ability that we have within ourselves, that we might become a motivation, that we might become a place of meditation, that we might become a reflection of inspiration. You can be the best managers, you can be the best janitors, you could be the best singers, authors, writers, workers in your professions. But are you doing the best with the profession you have? Are you doing the best in the position that you have? Is it the right one for you, the positive one that brings you closer to the place within who you are, where you see beyond good and bad and right or wrong, to the place of positive and negative forces where the universe works within ourselves? So are we able to do that today? Are we able to find that place? Are we able to grind to that level where we uplift other people, where we ask the question, in what I'm doing today, is my mentality in a place of focused knowledge and discipline where you're seeing from within who I am, where within who you are, a reflection of inspiration. As I close, I just want to say blessings to you all. Blessings, blessings, blessings as always. What a wonderful joy it is. What a place to uplift ourselves. What a place to become an inspiration within the universe. Regaining the connection within understanding to spend the time, at least 10 minutes of the day, so that we're at it literally a 49 minutes later of motivation, of meditation, of inspiration, the master within. The reflection on the outside. What do you see? Where does your mind go? What is it that you want to achieve? Are your dreams becoming possible? Because with this network, with this connection, those things become possible. Those abilities within who we are, those energies. You see, I've done weeks and weeks of energy readings. I spent weeks and weeks sitting down and doing meditation, of years in time to doing the mastery of inspiration. So do you see this as a place of inspiration? Do you apply your skills? Do you apply your talents? Do you apply your abilities? Do other people see this? Do they become uplifted? Because from here to Dubai to India, I see you. And as I see you, as I liberate, so do we all liberate ourselves. And so as we free ourselves, as we share, as we uplift, as we overcome, as we manifest from within who we are, as we leave blessings for others, as we put ourselves in a place where we have that kind of ability, and as we have that kind of mentality, then we have something, my friends, to share with one another. We have a more beautiful world. We have a more beautiful work. We have a more beautiful place. And we have a more beautiful mentality. And so here I am today. Here I am sharing. I used to allow the things of my past to hold me back. I used to use them as the driving force to why. And as I started to sit there and I started to recognize that it was my own fault as well too, as I found within myself the freedom from those challenges, as I found within oneself comes understanding, within oneself comes true liberation, utilizing that kind of knowledge, that kind of ability within who we are. See, a lot of people, they're not sure if they can overcome their challenges until they're facing off against them. And here we are, facing off against our challenges today. I'm getting ready to, in 2 days, come up on my, anniversary. And it's amazing that it no longer bothers me. It no longer has an effect over who I am inside. It no longer can hold me back. The growth inside has overcome the challenges to the point where I'm at peace within. I'm peace within the being. I understand that it's mutual. That when our purposes and our paths pass through challenges, when we overcome things that are liberating, when we embrace that part of ourselves, when we embrace that part of our being, when we're no longer bothered by the things that other people have done to us, when we free ourselves, when we take our part in that, then we no longer feel abandoned. See, and that's something amazing. That's something that took me a long time to learn. It took me a long time to get to a place where I was okay, where I could make it through it, where I could face off against it, where I would no longer let it stop me. And here I am today, telling you all your journeys are worth it, your paths are worth it, your purpose is worth it, and it takes true mentality to overcome challenges, my friends. It takes true ability to believe in yourselves. It takes true ability to believe that you can do the impossible. And so how do we make the impossible possible? As a world, as a community, as an ability within ourselves, as an ability within our beings, as an ability within our purpose, our paths within our journeys. And man, are we building a community. 5,000 plus members later, people from here to Spain, to Germany, to India are viewing these videos. I see people around the world, and I know I'm making a change inside of your hearts, inside of your beings, inside of your vibrations. And as I build this community, as I build this mentality, as I build this ability within, so does liberates not just myself, but the people that hear this message as well. And so here we are today. Here we are in this place, in this ability inside of who we are to overcome these kinds of challenges. And man, they're so worth it. I'm telling you, if you're facing off against something that you don't know if you can overcome, let me tell you, the day you overcome that challenge, the day you overcome that kind of thing that would hold you back, the thing that nobody else will do for you, when you start to overcome those kind of things inside of yourself, when you start to free yourself from that kind of place, when your focus and your knowledge become applied, when you start to feel true freedom inside of yourselves, when you want to truly create a more beautiful world, when you want to truly create a more beautiful ability, when you truly want to create a more beautiful reality, the ability within you starts to show up. The mentality starts to show up. The being inside of you starts to show up. And when you do that for yourselves, okay, when you start to become that kind of knowledge, that kind of focus, that kind of discipline, to where you have the ability to overcome your challenges, when you uplift with that kind of light, with that kind of vibration, the ability within who you are lights up in this world. And it is so beautiful when you are putting your whole self into your things, when you're putting your whole self into your being, when you're putting your whole self into your vibration. What a skill takes to reach that level. You know, just a little bit of work every day on yourself. Just a little bit of belief within your being. You know, and here we are today in a place, in a time, in a journey, in a path that's worth it, in an ability within who we are to overcome the challenges within who we are. And so focus to that place, utilize those gifts, utilize those talents, utilize those abilities within who you are. And it is so awesome that I've had the ability to share this with you guys. And I know that when you're going through hard times, that if you continue to focus, you can overcome them. And I know that when you're going through things that you don't know are able to be overcome, it's when you overcome those things that other people start to become inspired. It's when you start to overcome those things that the peace inside starts to show up. And as the master and the teacher within you starts to open up, as it starts to become that kind of light, as it starts to become that kind of place, it starts to have that kind of purpose, then what you have going on inside of you becomes a reflection of inspiration. I want you to be uplifted. I want you to feel a lightening from this message. No matter who this is in the world, I want you to become uplifted, to believe in yourself, to believe in your ability, to believe in your mentality, to believe in yourselves. And as we start to do so, the world becomes a more beautiful place for us all to live in. As I close, I just want to say blessings, blessings, blessings to you all. As always, blessings and namaste.